Alright gang, let's do a quick overview of Chapter 3. Now, in Chapter 3 we're going to deal with project planning, scheduling, monitoring, and reporting. Now, when it comes to project management, what shapes a project is the cost associated with it, the scope of the project, and the time associated with the project. And we could draw a project triangle that depicts those values. Now, what does a project manager do? We talked about that in the previous chapters. Now, one of the things, I'll have a video for you that I'll actually walk you through creating a work breakdown structure. Now, a work breakdown structure is created, we'll use Microsoft Project to create a work breakdown structure. And a Gantt chart is a horizontal bar chart representing a set of tasks that shows planned and actual progress on a project. It simplifies complex projects by using a task group. So we've got all the different tasks associated with the project. And now we are working on a project. And a project is usually a one-time effort. System analysis design is a cycle. Now, we move forward, we've got PERT or CPM charts. Now, PERT chart developed by the U.S. Navy to manage complex projects. We've got the critical path method. Private industry created it. It utilizes a bottom-up technique. Now, when it comes to this critical path method, we will, by using our work breakdown structure and our Gantt chart, we will create a critical path. We'll be able to see what the critical path is. Now, essentially, when we're talking about critical path, it's the items that have to be done in specified time. And if they are not done by their specified deadline, it will cause the project as a whole to run over in time. Time is vital to a project. So we can find that critical path. Now, things on that critical path, if we shorten the duration of those items, we can shorten the duration of the project as a whole. If it's an item that is not on the critical path, it may have no impact whatsoever to the duration of the entire project if we shorten those items. Okay? So here's the different versions. We've got a Gantt chart. We've got a PERT chart. Now, to identify tasks in a work breakdown structure, we've got to do a lot of research. And we have to have the tasks sequenced into what happens in what order. Now, this is something it could be dynamic. It's not a one-time shot that, oh, I missed one. We'll come up with other tasks sometimes that we have to add to it. Okay. So we need that list of tasks, the duration for the task. It can be hours, days, or weeks. Okay. So we'll identify the task by number, give it a description, come up with a duration. Now the next thing that we'll have to deal with is a predecessor. What has to happen before the next task? So let's say that our project is building a house. Now every house has to have a foundation. Every house has to have a roof. Can we schedule the roofing company to come install the trusses and the sheathing to get the house dried in before the slab or the foundation has been poured? No. So there are specific tasks that have to precede other tasks. And we can identify that as predecessors in our work breakdown structure. Okay? So things that affect or impact duration could be the size of the project as a whole. Human resources, how many hours a day somebody can work. That could impact the duration. If we let them work overtime, it could affect duration. The cost of things could affect duration. Constraints could affect duration. So here we are, and we see that somebody's gone through and input the tasks that we've got up here in this initial tool that they used. They've input them into work breakdown structure in project. They've set a duration for each one of the tasks, how long it, so this meeting, 1 day. It'll take 9 days to get the marketing materials. So each task has a duration. Can't do order marketing materials until after task 1 is completed. I can't do number 3 until after task 1 is completed. So you see to the right, here's task 1 in the light blue, and then you see 2 tasks that can start as soon as that one's finished. 2 other tasks can start after the brief the managers has completed. So this is where we could see that critical path being created because of the predecessors. Okay. So there are task patterns, and we can use task boxes to create a model. And here we are setting up a model step by step. Okay. Develop a plan. From there, you got 2 things will happen. All right, so anything we can do to get a visual to help us understand how this works and how it needs to get set up, we'll do it. Okay. Okay, we need to know the what's, the why's, the when's, so that things happen the way they're supposed to happen. Okay. Now this has dependencies built into it, and we can tell what's dependent on others because of the sequencing and how it's set up. Now to calculate a critical path, it's a series of tasks which, if delayed, will affect the completion date of the overall project. If any task in the critical path falls behind schedule, the entire project will be delayed. Reiterate what I said a little ways back. So if we've got Microsoft Project and we've laid everything out using that software, we can come up with the critical path very easy. We can see it. It's identified in red. But if we're using this model that we see on the screen now, we go through and seeing the predecessors, we can add duration, so 10, 30, 25, 30. So arrange logistics has to happen before announce training. So we can see that the critical path is 40, 65, 75, 85, 95 days long. Here we are. And because this one was 25, that's what makes it 95 days long. Okay. Now, we have to maintain a specific schedule. And one of the things that we can add in is a little bit of slack time to buffer, just in case deadlines don't get met. Now, I use that example of building a house. Now, the one thing that I talked about was the foundation or the slab getting poured for the house. Now, that's foundation is traditionally cement or concrete. Now, we don't see people pouring cement in pouring down rain. So let's assume it's been scheduled to happen on a Tuesday, and unfortunately Tuesday comes and it's pouring down rain on that Tuesday. Now, it's not always an option to, well, just come back tomorrow. We'll just come back day after tomorrow. Because the companies that we're dealing with, those external entities that we talked about before, They have their own schedules. That crew was scheduled to be on your job today, 3 other jobs tomorrow, 2 jobs the next day. So it's not like, oh, we'll be back tomorrow. We can't assume they'll be back tomorrow. Things have to be rescheduled. And sometimes it may take quite a while to get something rescheduled, if that task is on the critical path. It's not just a matter of the critical path got extended by a day. That critical path got extended by however long it takes to reschedule that task. We also have to reschedule all the rest of the work in that project. And it may not all get scheduled on the right dates. So things not happening when they're supposed to happen, huge impact. All right, so we've got meetings all the time to make sure that everybody understands what we're doing, how we're doing it, and communication takes place. Everything's documented. All right. We looked at PERT CPM examples. We looked at work breakdown structure examples. Microsoft Project, we'll use that. We can create a Gantt chart. Here we go. Here's a Gantt chart. So we see the tasks, duration, predecessors, and here's the chart itself. Okay. Here's a PERT chart. In Project, we can have both Gantt and PERT charts available to us. And here we see, as I noted before, in red, that's our critical path. If you see them in red, that's going to be our critical path. Now, one of the things we need to take into consideration is risk. Now, depending on the organization, risk usually deals with insurance. But in this instance, we're not talking about insurance when we say risk management. We're looking at things that could have a negative impact on the project. Things that could change the scope, impact the success, or change the duration in a negative way. Okay? So we'll do a risk matrix and just come up with ideas. And we have to assess them and say, is it a high impact, low probability, low impact, low probability? And then once we understand that, the things that are high impact and high probability, those get addressed first. We'll just work our way right on down. Okay. Okay. And we talked about scheduling issues. All right, so we need to be able to document the project. Now there's 5 phases. We've got 12 chapters in this book, so it's not going to be phase after phase after phase. We'll talk about things that are going to help us within the next phase. So this is tools, being able to document and get a better understanding of what's going on, assessment. Okay? Talked about the project triangle, the 3 legs of it, cost, scope, and time. Talked about critical path, Gantt chart, PERT chart. Microsoft projects get the ability to schedule and monitor projects. All right. So we'll see you in the next chapter.